Alright, so we've had some fun with exalted weapons, but now I would like to get back to Coda weapons because, well, weapons are kind of my jam. I'm not much of a frame guy. Now, the one we landed on this time around is the Coda Hirudo. This is a Master Rank 17 sparring weapon that has very short range but decent attack speed and good follow through, and it does primarily puncture damage. It also sports a gargantuous 34% crit chance with a very above average 3.1 times crit multiplier and still maintains a very decent status chance of 18%. The Coda Hirudo is actually a significant upgrade over the standard Hirudo even if you don't take into account the valence bonus. It deals 45 more damage per hit, has 4% extra crit chance, slightly higher crit multiplier and 7% extra status chance. This is pretty significant because it's not like the base Hirudo is bad, it's actually a very solid melee weapon. And finally, of course, just like any other Coda weapon, the only way to get it is by engaging with the Technosite Coda system, so you need to make your own infested boy band and then stab it a bunch to get the currency to then buy the weapon from Eleanor. So let's give it a shot, shall we? Okay, that's interesting. I guess we're gonna stab nothing? What? Vanquish. Oh, there we go. Alright. We have to pick up the Hirudo. 51.1% toxin. That's just too saucy to skip. It's the intense grin. That's what gets me on this. It's the grin. Glad to see it as the same trait as the standard Hirudo. This is an absolutely god tier trait. You heal on crits and you get extra HP as well. Absolutely top notch. Brutal tight it is. Condi Overload is a bit of a no-brainer on these kinds of setups. Also, Primed Reach is absolutely non-negotiable because the base range is really low and the follow-through is very high, so reach it is. I was wondering why the capacity was so low. Let's also not forget about the adapter. Blood Rush and Galvanized Steel. She's 71.4. This is gonna be mad. Doughty does make a good amount of sense on this because the primary damage type is puncture, so we actually get 1x crit multi just like that before Weeping Wounds and stuff. Weeping Wounds should be good enough. I don't think we need to invest into status too much here. For now, we can top it off with some lovely attack speed. Actually not a bad start. You have to bear in mind we don't have elemental mods, which is kind of balanced out by the fact that we're getting more crit from Doughty. We're getting 5.1 extra crit multiplier, which is of course going to go down once we add some elements, but yeah, as I said, not a bad start at all. I really enjoy sparring weapons still, even though they've been de-breakdancified somewhat, right? Previously, sparring weapons, you would just breakdance enemies to death, and now it's more of a combat style. You're actually like fighting instead of breakdancing. But they're still tremendously fun. There we go, that was nice and fast. Let's get a V. I genuinely think a little bit of AoE with Blast is gonna feel really nice. Oh, Nelly, that's some serious damage. Now, to be fair, we are using Herald now. We weren't using Herald before, so we're getting a ton of damage from Condi Overload, but still. I am liking this very much. I'm having a ton of fun here. This is great. It does annoy me somewhat that I know it would be better for a fact with Influence, just flip the Valence into Electricity, and that's pretty much all you need to do here, but you know, it's nice to be able to run something else. Hello, Misery, how are you doing, bud? Check out my sick dance moves, man. Oh, you don't like that at all. Bloody hell. Yeah, it's like a totally viable setup, so if you want something nice and simple, bit of blast and a bunch of crit, not bad. I do want to try a few more things, so let's get another Form Mine here. There we go. So we can just drop Vicious Frost, which gives us more benefit from Doughty and gives us gas, plus it allows us to run Galvanized Elementalist for the status damage and status chance. Okay, yeah, this is the way to do it. For like a Toxin Hirudo anyway. Again, Electricity with Influence is probably better. When you combo this with proper armor strip, it is going to absolutely shred. And I'm not doing that, by the way. I just have a little bit of armor strip coming from Harold, and that's it. I don't know what's going on, but the enemy density is really borked. There are only like a handful of enemies running around. I don't know why. Come and get some angst. Yo, what the heck was that? That was some serious damage. Holy. Clom. I'm really not feeling Tennokai on this one, so I think we'll just skip the Exiles. It's not like it would be difficult, it's just a matter of putting it in, because we have the capacity, right? We have 7 capacity, most of these take 7, so it wouldn't be difficult, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm honestly starting to get annoyed by Influence, because it's such an obvious pick for basically every weapon. Even though, like, you know, we get a bunch of crit multi from Doughty, it's like a perfect fit here. but it's still not as good as Influence. It's kind of annoying. Might not be the best way of building it, but god damn it, I like it. It's a lot of fun. Do you know what I like about the series the most? The fact that I can kind of just do whatever I want to do. And you guys are intelligent enough to just go, oh, this might not be the best way of building the weapon, but it's certainly a way and I don't have to do it if I don't want to. It's tremendous. I've always liked the Hirudo. Like back in the day, the original Hirudo was actually kind of a big deal because you could just heal with it at a time where healing wasn't as easily accessible as it is today. So it was kind of like huge that you could just heal without even modding for it. I was about to say that I'm pleasantly surprised at how much this trashes Acolytes, but I'm not really, because Acolyte's attenuation doesn't do well with crits. I am very happy with the result here. This is just good old-fashioned fun. I can't even imagine how ridiculous this would be if you flipped the Valence into electricity and ran Influence. It must be nuts. So here's the final setup for the Coda Hirudo. We run Condition Overload for base damage and Primed Reach to get a bunch of range. This is really beneficial on a weapon like this because it has really short range but high follow through, which is the amount of damage you retain as you cleave through multiple enemies. The funny thing is, generally the more base range a weapon has, the lower its follow through is going to be, so the best weapons to actually cleave through hordes of enemies are the ones with the lowest range. But anyway, we move on to Blood Rush for crit chance, Galvanized Steel for crit chance and damage, Weeping Wounds for status chance, and we have Berserker Fury for attack speed, Volcanic Edge, which combines with our Toxin Valence bonus into gas, and we top it off with Galvanized Elementalist. Now, to not have the same boring melee setup on every weapon in existence, we chose to go with Melee Doughty for more crit multiplier. Though of course, if you want to, you can just switch the Valence into Electricity and run Influence instead. Now, a setup like this, a Condition Overload setup that is going to benefit heavily from a good priming pad, because not only do you get the benefit of the status effects, you also get extra damage through Condition Overload. So I'm using a Hound, Good Boy Harold, that primes Cold, Impact, Puncture, Radiation, Heat, Magnetic and Vital. This is a really strong weapon and I would highly recommend you give it a shot. It's just a fun sparring weapon that does a ton of damage. And I do genuinely mean a ton of damage. This would still be a good melee weapon even if it didn't have the Valence bonus. This is akin to like Hirudo Prime with the Valence bonus on top. It's just an absolute no-brainer in my opinion, especially if you find it with a good Valence bonus. It may not be the flashiest of weapons, but it's damn good fun. And that's pretty much all I have for you today, so I thank you very much for watching, as always guys, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Then I would also like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate your support, it means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time, bye bye.